Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all is well on this lovely Tuesday, and thank you for joining my 148th or 149th, I think 149th episode of the Bisimoto Tech Tuesday. So thank you so much for being here. It's a wonderful afternoon. We have a lot of great topics to discuss, and for those of you on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me in this archiving moment where you get the nice meat and juices from the Tech Tuesday. What I think about 964s as Sam People 05, I love them. As a matter of fact, the 964 Porsche 911 is one of my most just prized possessed, or I say the best 911 as far as I'm concerned in terms of classic air-cooled. It has the potent 3.6 liter air-cooled engine, which is very nice, right? It has all the modernized, updated setups. You don't have challenges with the cams or with the cam tensioners or anything of that nature. Big, good displacement, nice valve train. Intake manifold has nice induction in terms of having good flow and also harmonic advantages with the flaps. It makes it very easy to convert to coil and plug if you want to, but has the dual distributors. But on the outside, it looks classic, right? It has a classic frog eye look. But above and beyond that, it is the most advanced frog eye 911. What do you mean by that? If you've ever driven an old school G body, the AC is not that great, the heat is not that great, but guess what? In the 964, the AC works, and the heater works well. You drive it, it doesn't feel like you're driving an old bug, it actually feels like a solid modern car, but you go outside and it has that nice old school bug eye look, or frog eye look, which I like, which is pretty cool, you know? So it's good. Stan says, can we get a peek of your new projects? No, I can't do that. I have one right there. That's why I didn't reverse the camera. I have one right there I'm looking at. And I can't show it because you know me, what I tend to do is I build these project cars and boom, it hits the market and it's doing well. Am I from West Africa, says Desalheinrich. Yes, I am. I'm from Nigeria, to be exact. Coastal West Africa. Uwe Parse 24, good afternoon, sir. Panama in the house, courtesy of SK Auto Detail. Okay, let's talk about some cool stuff, guys. So there's something that's near and dear to me. Because as many of you know, I take pride in my tuning prowess. Majority of the tunes that come here for us to address are tunes that come from a lot of other shops where they may do a decent job with the full throttle, but the partial throttle is horrible. So I take my time and spend a good 30, 45 minutes to an hour doing partial throttle tuning, because whether you're on or off the track, you spend a lot of time driving in partial throttle. Your cars are not just full throttle cars, right? And even with drag cars, there's this transient response that happens when you shift or when you're doing a burnout that you need advantage of. So it's even important to do partial throttle tuning on drag vehicles. So I do that as well. But there's something going on. There's something happening, friends and family, that is quite disturbing. And what is that? E-tuning or remote tuning, whatever you want to call it. As far as I'm concerned, it's an epidemic, and not a good epidemic. It's not one that's spreading like wildfire that's very good, but it's almost like it feels like there's some individuals who are taking advantage of you guys, my family, with these e-tunes. Now, what do you mean by that? I'll give you guys a little hint. Let's say you come in with a K series or a Type R, or whatever the case may be. It could be a Porsche 911. And you come to get tuned. There is no way someone can send you logs, or you can grab logs and send to a tuner and have them tune it and do a good job. It's just impossible. And why is that? Because you need a dyno to be able to know if your cam control is going the right direction, if your cam degrees, if your cam timing is in the right degree. If you add 2 degrees of cam timing, how do you see that on a log, on a street log? You can't know if it's going the right direction. How do you know when you optimize ignition timing? Do you go to knock and back off? Most cars don't make the most power at knock or near knock. So how do you do that? Fuel ratios even. Think about it, guys. Not every car wants the same fuel ratio. Let's say we have a boosted 911 versus, let's say, a boosted LS that came in on Sunday. The boosted LS loved 11.3 AFR. But the boosted Porsche 911 loved 11.8 AFR. So how could you tell which car wants the best fuel ratio if you don't have a dyno to quantify what you're doing? So if you have someone who has a street tune, the car is vastly unoptimized. I've had street tune cars come here and they pick up 40 horsepower. In other words, as far as I'm concerned, a street tune is a glorified base map. That's all it is. Because your e-tuner, who many times they've never worked on a dyno or seen a dyno, cannot optimize your ignition timing, cannot optimize your cam timing, and definitely cannot even optimize something as simple as air-fuel ratio. You just can't do it. So if someone's happy with a substandard tune, by all means, take advantage of it. But it's not ideal at all. It's best for you to go to a reputable local facility that has a proper dyno with a reputable tuner, and then have the opportunity to do that. The best thing that someone could do is if you e-tune or remote tune where you have a physical dyno and someone is there real time watching the operator, watching the parameters, being able to get feedback, that's the best. So guys, please, family, please, 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 stay away from those e-tunes. It's a waste, unless you like paying $200, $300, $400 for a base map. It's not worth it. A base map is good enough for you to get the car started, to make sure you check everything, that you don't have any leaks, any challenges, and then go to a dyno. And if you have a dyno facility nearby and you don't have a tuner that's flying in or one that's nearby that's good, please, please, please have some kind of remote access where the person can see what's going on and be able to do it, because that's the only way. If you have at idle 0 cam angle and you go to 30 cam angle at peak torque and fall off to 20, is that good? We don't know. Let's say I add another 2 degrees. Am I going the right direction? You don't know. We take it away. We don't know. You need a dyno to quantify and do the right thing. And your car comes out beautiful with the most power. You can enjoy the car. You can win races. You can have fun on and off the track. It's the best thing to do, guys. You know, I take pride in my tuning prowess, but there are a lot of good tuners out there. But the e-tune stuff, I really see it as they're taking advantage of people. They're taking advantage of you. Even the e-tuners, unless they really have no idea what they're doing, they know what they're doing. They know. They're taking advantage. They know that they can optimize. They're looking at logs and looking at fuel trims and just adjusting things to what they think is ideal. They have no clue. You can't optimize. You just can't. So guys, please, you know. So Makulu Bass asking, we need a dyno to optimize? Yes, you do. And once again, forgive me for being redundant, but you cannot optimize ignition timing on the road with a log. You just can't. So I've heard some people say, oh, the remote tuner, they kept adding timing till it got to knock and then they backed off. Most cars, internal combustion engines aren't most efficient near knock. Oh, they just gave me 12.5 AFR because the car liked it there? I mean, they don't know. There's no way of quantifying it. Cam timing, even more important. You can pick up. I remember we did a car for Hoonigan here. It was like a 1JZ boosted car, and everyone said, oh, don't use VVTi. Well, we activated VVTi, picked up almost 200 wheel horsepower in the middle. Yes, using variable cam timing. And how was I able to optimize that? On the dyno. And I knew what cam angles to use to get the power. Without a dyno, I'll be stabbing in the dark. I'd have no idea what's going on, you know, which is sad. How familiar are you with Mitsubishi 4G engines? Quite familiar, Williams. Not only is one of my guys here, DSM Miggy, a huge advocate of it, but Hyundai, who's one of our great technical partners, have always had legacy engines derived from Mitsubishi partnerships. So you think of the 4G63, even the 4B11, a lot of that technology is infused in quite a bit of the Hyundai DNA. So for me to be able to do a good job, for that manufacturer, I definitely would have to have been very intimate with those engines. So I am, indeed. What's the fastest car I have? Believe it or not, you may think I'm crazy, and I'm not just saying this because it's one of my latest builds, but believe it or not, the EV Porsche, the K3V is the quickest thing I've ever. The torque is just ridiculous. My 0 to 60 is 206. I think the only thing that's close to that is my Insight fully slicked down. But as a street car, that is the fastest car I have here. You know, before that it was the Blue 911, which scared everyone who drove it. You know. We appreciate that, says Wagon Mike. Can't wait to make a trip down SoCal. I'd love to see you down here, sir. Greece is in the house, courtesy of Starvo's MK7. Good seeing you indeed. EVs the future, says D 4 days. You're correct, sir. Whether we like it or not, technology will keep advancing, you know. Project Targa, is the new AM Infiniti ECU versus Series 2 worth the price difference for the 3.0 Porsche 911? Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Project Targa, as I take a sip of this beautiful Voss water. Anyway, they're not even supporting me. I just like Voss water. So, the question was, is it worth it updating from a Series 2 to Infinity? And the answer is yes, it is. Yes, it is. Think about it. Not only is Series 2 is a very stable platform. Don't get me wrong. I love Series 2. It's great. But the Infinity is by far not only a fast processor of 400 MIPS, but above and beyond that, the Infinities have built-in wideband controllers. And that allows me the capability of doing tons more fail-safes, in addition to drive-by-wire control. So I can actually make a safer, faster car with Infinity versus the Series 2, believe it or not. With the Series 2, I can do flex fuel. I can do that also with Infinity. And the price is not so bad. By the time you get a Series 2 and add the wideband that you have to use and wire that in, and then try and take time to put in fail-safes that may be a little workaround that the Infinity has right out the gate, by all means, the Infinity is definitely worth it. The architecture is much nicer as well, splash resilient, which you don't see with the Series 2. Very much smaller footprint as well, which you don't see with Series 2. The capability for deadlogging is absolutely amazing as well, which you don't see with Series 2. I'm a huge advocate of drive-by-wire, so even in air-cooled vehicles, I add drive-by-wire to it. I have my blue Porsche right there, it's drive-by-wire, all that fun stuff. So it is a much better platform. And when it comes to fail-safes, I can do everything from oil pressure fail-safes to boost cup fail-safes to fail-safes based upon knock per cylinder. I have the capability of doing fail-safes based upon fuel pressure. I have the capability of doing fail-safes based upon running lean or too rich. I can do fail-safes in terms of idle control. I can do fail-safes in terms of control of drive-by-wire. It's just, and the protocol in terms of traction control is just amazing. It's just a better ECU, by far, you know? And a flat six saying, how much natural aspirated horsepower can you get out of the M97 motor reliably? So it depends. This is a track car or a street car. In a street car, you can do quite a bit because you know the M97 head flows very, very nicely. Now, would it be far-fetched? Really, would it be far-fetched to easily get 75 horsepower per cylinder? I wouldn't think so. It wouldn't be far-fetched to do that. 50 is definitely easy, right? But it wouldn't be far-fetched at all to do 75 per cylinder. So you can. If it's a full track car, you can push that to over 100 horsepower per cylinder. I'm talking about wheel horsepower, by the way. It depends on your wallet. Enjoy your day as well, Des Henrich 46. Good seeing you. Federico Cosilardo. Sorry, I hope I didn't mess up your name. Hi to you as well. Better, less personal, says Contractor Ruckus. How do you like tuning Civic Type Rs? I think they're very good. The Civic Type Rs really pose a very nice balancing act when tuning them. So Honda really did a good job with that setup. Did a clever job even more with the Bosch ECU and locking us tuners out of it. But with help of people like K-Tuner and Honda, we now have access. And for those of you who really have deep pockets, you can definitely put a Motec and have all the fun you want. But the biggest challenge with the Civic Type R, CTR, and the 10th Gen application is the fueling system. So I get people who write to me all the time and they say, oh, BC, I want to make 380, 390, or 400 horsepower to the wheels on my stock Type R with petrol. Well, the challenge with gasoline for that engine is the fuel system is limiting, being direct injection, and they just have limitations. So when you start getting to 100% duty, the ECU automatically start pulling back boost to keep the engine safe. Very nice fail safe, right? There's one way around it, which is a nice way. Some companies make, like Dream, they have these additional injectors that you can run and control with port injection, adding that to the direct injection. But Honda makes this fuel upgrade kit, which is pretty nice. We had a customer come here not too long ago, courtesy of the guys from Art of Attack, and not only did I make 408, almost 410 wheel horsepower and more than 400 pound-foot of torque, I was barely at 80% duty, so I still had a little bit more to go, a little bit margin to go. Now the challenge is with the Type R motor is the connecting rods are quite weak, so when building that boost tuners, you don't want to bring that boost on abruptly because it can bend the rods. Now, of course, if you have the capability of upgrading the rods and pistons, you can make 600 horsepower with that, no problem. So, rule of thumb that I have seen here, on average, I've seen customers come in with stock setups, stock fuel system and all that stuff with bolt-ons, make anywhere from, 340, 330, 340, 350, 360-ish. And then on E30 to E50, can make a little bit more. And definitely with the upgraded kit, surpass the 400 wheel mark, Landshark from New York City. Blessings to you as well, sir. Thank you for joining me on this Tech Tuesday. I appreciate that. For those on YouTube, thank you for joining as well. So I really appreciate all you guys, by all means. And I appreciate you joining me on this Reliably Tech Tuesday. And there's something else I want to mention. So I talked about e-tuning and how that's not the best, right? How you cannot optimize ignition timing, you cannot optimize cam timing, you cannot even optimize something as simple as fuel ratio. You need a dynamometer to be able to quantify and validate things. Well, on a separate note, suspension. And I'm guilty of that too, right? But I learned a lot being a road racer. So I don't know if AJ is still here. He taught me a lot on how to race and how to become a faster road racer. I used to just throw power at cars, and ignore my suspension. But guys, suspension tuning is so critical. It doesn't make sense in you getting an S2000, making tons of power and using stock suspension. It doesn't make sense in you getting one of J-Duck's turbo kits for the 997 and putting on stock suspension, because you have all this power. You need to stay safe on and off the track, and to do that, you need a suspension that can help keep adhesion to the road to keep you fast and safe. So I tend to use a lot of components from iBug, a lot of components from KW. The iBug components, I do a lot of sway bars from them. The coilovers, I do everything from V3s to like I mean, it's just Club Sports as well for KW's amazing suspension. Could completely change the look of my car and the feel and the drivability and safety. And something even crazier, on the center seat over there, better yet, on my Cayman that's right there on the left, I had some standard like 1552 aluminum wheels and set up my KWs in such a way, and then when I went to carbon fiber wheels, just in switching wheels, because it's much lightweight, my suspension was completely different. So I had to change my dampening settings as well. So being able to tune your suspension to the power levels and drivability of your car is very important, even on drag cars. So you notice on Stitch, I have a very soft rear suspension with a wheelie bar to allow me to contact the wheelie bar and prevent weight transfer. My front also has very hard rebound so that the nose doesn't have ease to lift up. And then my front alignment, I use Chewart quite a bit, is slightly towed in. So when I launch and it comes up just a bit, my front wheels kind of line up and go straight. So that prevents scrub, allows me to have a better 60-foot, allows me to get faster down the track. So it's amazing, you know? What's the max horsepower 987 stock bottom end can hold? So with a proper tune, because you can destroy an engine with a bad tune, but a proper tune, J-Dog, right? We've done 987s, 997s to 480. So yes, 480 horsepower with a proper tune is possible reliably. Anything above that, you're playing with fire. Because the first thing you'll go is probably the raw bolts or ring lands, you know? Or you can, you know, crack your cylinder. Ask me how I know. BC, could you talk about cam position sensors and trigger wheels, 60-2 or 30-1, simultaneous versus sequential injection? Yes, I can. So let's talk about batch versus sequential. Let's talk about 60-2 and 30-1. Let's talk about 4. So what I've noticed, guys, and it's been great, is having more crank teeth allows for better resolution. Now, why is that important? When you have high RPM, you want to be able to time your ignition and fueling very accurately to have a reliable, powerful setup. And it's more critical as you go up higher in power and higher in RPM ranges. So if you had a choice between a 30-1 or a 12-tooth wheel or a 60-2 on the crank, you go 60-2. And OEMs tend to use that now because it's not only for power, but it does great for efficiency as well, to be able to get proper fueling and fuel economy. So Honda even went from a 12-wheel, 24-wheel to even now a 60-2 on the Fit, on the J series, on the Type R, on the K. It's all there now. Batch injection is what you may see in that 1982 Porsche 911 over there. Now, the red one right here next to it is now sequential. Batch is opportunity where it fires twice per ignition cycle. So in other words, your injector instead of spraying right before the valve opens, it sprays twice. Much easier to control by an OEM, much easier to control, cheaper electronics to be able to do, and that's why it was prominent back in the day. A result of that is that, yeah, you consume a lot more fuel and it's not as crisp, but when you convert your car from batch to sequential, ooh, it's a whole different animal. The rev response is like that crisp. Your fuel economy is better on and off the track. You have the ability to have better transient response. Your car just sounds better, breathes better. You have the ability to really tailor as a tuner. You can tailor your sequential injection moment to happen right before the exhaust, the intake valve opens up right before that happens. It's amazing. It's just converts your car completely. So whenever I can on the crank wheel, I try and use as many teeth as possible, which was commercially available, and a lot of OEMs and aftermarket ECU systems support is 60-2. And at least have one tooth cam, mostly Hall, because the Hall has the ability to pick up immediate movement, while with a mag or electro wheel, you kind of have to see some movement and it energizes. So that being said, that's what I like. The advantages: better resolution, better power, better fuel economy, better drivability, crispness, throttle response, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't think otherwise. Some setups may have no cam, and if you have no cam, you have no way of determining TDC, so you have to run batch with just a crank wheel, and once again, you get all the advantages of sequential goes out the window. So even when we have Formula SAE guys come here with the motorcycle motors and they set up batch, I encourage them, and they see success and power on the dyno going to a sequential. And it's much better. And they can play around with injection timing and all that fun stuff, and it's just absolutely, the phasing of injectors is actually fantastic. Josh Wonderbread has a great question. He's asking, BC, best transmission for D-Series. Ooh, I have a good answer for you. I have a good answer for him. The gearbox out of the 86 to 89 Acura Integra. I mean it. Oh, Duran's here. He's laughing at me. Oh, no. Dream Automotive, I just talked about you with your Type R fuel system. Okay, anyway, as Duran's laughing at me there because I said Nissan Tuner SX was my first car. Anyway, best gearbox is the D16A6. D16A1, sorry. Twin cam motor, but the gearbox bolts on to a D series, whether it's a Z6, A6, Y8, Y7, whatever the case may be, even D15s. It's the first gen Acura Integra 86 to 89 model year. Why? Not only is that gearbox robust because it has a built-in cuff. You know how in B series guys, they tend to drag race and they get rid of fifth gear and they put this cuff in between and allows the gears not to come apart and shred? Guess what? It has the cuff built into the gearbox already, in between fourth and fifth gear. And if you're really clever, you can change the fifth gear by just taking bolts off and swapping out right there and then. But that gearbox is so robust. That's the gearbox I use in my Insight and my CRX to break records and to run low nines all day on drag slicks and so on and so forth. And then the forks, you know what really plagues D-Series gearboxes is the aluminum shift forks, because when you have very spirited driving, sometimes you can get really overzealous and break them. Well, guess what? Just like the B-Series, the D16A1 gearbox has steel forks. Man, it's amazing. Okay, Nissan Love asks, do I have braking oil for Corvair? Yes, I do sell them. As you know, I'm an advocate of Purell, and they have SAE 30 and SAE 40. I think you use SAE 40 on that, and I have quite a bit in stock. So give us a call. We'll give you a smashing deal on those, Johnny Boy's asking, what's the next platform you'll be building? I have two in-house, my own personal cause, passion projects. I have two vehicles I'm building this year that are both Porsche-based. One is a petrol vehicle and the other is an electric. Not the one I already did, but next one, Make the Insight great again, says ITB Kevin. And Kevin, you'll be probably very proud because Saul did bring his LS-powered 1972 240Z here this weekend, and that LS made some good power. I was shocked because of the simplicity of his setup, and the horsepower was ridiculous. And I'll just give you a hint. His torque was 640 pound-foot of torque on a stock motor. 640. I'm scared for the guy and him driving that car. 640 pound-foot of torque. And it happened like $4 grand or something like that. It was ridiculous, Kevin. You never educated me how potent these LSs are. I was pretty impressed, Yeah, was it 280Z? I thought it was a 240. But that thing was pretty potent. I'm scared. I don't know if he'll be able to drive that car or handle it. Well, guys, it's a slice of heaven. Thank you so much for joining me on this great Tech Tuesday. I appreciate you. And all of you also listen to me on YouTube as well. And for those of you here, I have it on all the podcasting networks. I have it on Anchor. I have it up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Just search for Bisimoto and it's there. And I'll have it up here on Instagram as well for a while, but definitely the nice edited, clean meat and potatoes will be on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, leave here now. Go to YouTube, type in Bisimoto, hit on that subscribe button, And not only we get this, you get some really cool stuff. All behind the scenes tuning and projects and madness and testing and all that fun stuff and races in Mexico. Anyway, guys, I love all of you. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Hope all is well. Stay safe and see you next week. Have a good one, guys.